ऐश्वर्या
श्री
रानडे आप सभी का
धन्वंतरि स्तोत्रम।
स्वागत करती हूँ।
ओम शंखं
पिछले 2 महीनों से
चक्रं
हम इस
जलौकां
लेक्चर सीरीज का
दधदमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिहृद्यां शुक परिविलसन्
आनंद उठा रहे हैं। उसी
मौलिमम्भोजनेत्रम्
जो उससे पहले आज का जो लेक्चर है वो शुरू
कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गम्
करने से पहले मैं हमारे सभी जो मेंबर्स हैं या फिर पार्टिसिपेंट जो ज्वाइन हुए हैं मैं सबको
चारुपीताम्बराढ्यम्
एक अनुरोध करना चाहूंगी कि
वन्दे
प्लीज
धन्वन्तरिं
ड्यूरिंग द
तं
लेक्चर आपके जो माइक है कृपया म्यूट है,
निखिलगदवनप्रौढदावाग्निनीलम्।
इस पे ज़रा ध्यान दीजिएगा। दूसरी बात, पिछले शनिवार से हमने हमारी सीरीज का जो टाइम है वो दोपहर 4 बजे से किया है। तो थोड़ा सा लोगों को इसमें ज्वाइन करने के लिए या याद रखने के लिए थोड़ी सी परेशानी होगी, लेकिन पिछले बार से ही हम ये जो हमारा टाइम है वो हम दोपहर 4 बजे से हमने शुरू किया है। तीसरी बात, जो हमारी लेक्चर सीरीज का जो टाइम है वो 50+10, यानी कि हमारे जो स्पीकर हैं उनके लिए हम 50 मिनट और क्वेश्चन आंसर्स के लिए 10 मिनट हमने रखे हैं। लेकिन फिर भी अगर ये सभी के लिए है सर।
अच्छा, ओके।
लेकिन फिर भी अगर समझो लेक्चर अगर थोड़ा सा एक्सटेंड हुआ और किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन अगर पूछना है या फिर अपने विचार अगर प्रकट करने हैं, तो मैं अनुरोध करना चाहूंगी कि चैट में अगर आप सबने अपने विचार अगर प्रकट किए या फिर उस पर लिखे, तो ये हम अगर टाइम कम है तो फिर ये बाद में हम हमारे ग्रुप में भी डिस्कस कर सकेंगे, और अगर टाइम कम है तो फिर हमें स्पीकर के लिए ये ज़्यादा मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इट वुड बी बेनिफिशियल कि उनको अपने विचार ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा टाइम तक रखने का समय मिलेगा। दूसरी बात, हमारे ग्रुप के यंग डायनामिक और बहुत एक्टिव रहने वाले जो मेंबर हैं डॉक्टर प्रशांत देशमुख सर, मैं एकेडमी की तरफ से सभी मेंबर्स की तरफ से आज उनको जन्मदिन की बहुत बहुत बधाइयाँ देना चाहती हूँ। वेरी हैप्पी बर्थडे देशमुख सर। अगर देशमुख सर को भी किसी को बधाई देनी है तो कृपया चैट बॉक्स में डाल दीजिए ताकि हमारे स्पीकर को ज़्यादा टाइम मिले। मैं गणेश सर से प्रार्थना करती हूँ कि वो धन्वंतरि स्तवन से शुरुआत करें।
श्री धन्वंतरि स्तोत्रम। ओम शंखं चक्रं जलौकां दधदमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिहृद्यां शुक परिविलसन् मौलिमम्भोजनेत्रम् कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गम् कटितटविलसच्चारुपीताम्बराढ्यम् वन्दे धन्वन्तरिं तं निखिलगदवनप्रौढदावाग्निनीलम्।
Yes, ma'am.
धन्यवाद गणेश सर। अभी मैं आज के हमारे जो गेस्ट स्पीकर है उनका इंट्रोडक्शन करना चाहूंगी। आज हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं डॉक्टर रणजीत निम्बाळकर सर। सर का जो एजुकेशन है वो एमडी पीएचडी रोग निदान। सर ने बीए और एमए संस्कृत भी किया है और सर ने पीजीडीसीआर डिप्लोमा इन क्लिनिकल रिसर्च भी सर ने किया हुआ है। सर का कैंसर पे सर का जो काम है वो पिछले 20 साल से सर इस पे काम कर रहे हैं और आयुर्वेद के फील्ड में बहुत सारे देशों में भी यूएस और यूरोप के देशों में भी सर ने अपना काम आयुर्वेद के बारे में दिया है या फिर अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन इसमें दिया है। आज का सर का जो लेक्चर है वो ब्रेस्ट कैंसर एंड आयुर्वेदिक पर्सपेक्टिव इस पे है। सर का जो इंटरेस्ट है एकेडमिक रिसर्च और क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस, तो इतने 20 साल का जो सर का कैंसर के बारे में जो उनका एक्सपीरियंस है, तो मैं रंजीत सर से प्रार्थना करना चाहूँगी कि वो अपना लेक्चर शुरू करें।
Okay, so thank you very much, madam. Hello, am I audible? I think I'm audible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to begin with, I would like to say a lot of thanks to Atul sir, our beloved Jhundanayak, for its very good enthusiastic thing he has undertaken, like academic series. And I think today is 13th lecture of this series, single lecture series. So thank you very much, Atul sir. Again, before beginning, I would like to pay my tributes or respects to all my gurus, like principally Madhav Kolatkar sir. He's a Vaidya Chudamani, and because of him, I came to field of Ayurved. Then obviously Dr. S.P. Sardeshmukh sir, who gave me this opportunity for working in the field of cancer for last 20 years. And definitely Khandel sir and Oja sir, they're like a Midas touch for my life. So whatever good things are possible in my life is because of blessing of all these four gurus. And whatever lacunae or shortcomings are there, then there are manufacturing defects by the God. So nobody can do much about it. So let's start with our presentation. And yes, definitely a lot of birthday wishes to our Prashant sir, and wish you a very happy birthday and a very wonderful life in future. I will start my presentation now.
इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर है वो बहुत मायने रखता है, चाहे आप
Okay, is it visible? PPT?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll begin with our topic. Okay, we'll begin with our topic, understanding breast carcinomas and Ayurved perspective. As this name suggests, there are two parts in our presentation. First is understanding breast carcinoma and other one is Ayurved perspective. Obviously, what modern medicine is telling about breast carcinoma, we have to learn it first, and then we have to understand, not translate, but transcribe in our language. As Sushruth has aptly said, प्रत्यक्षतो हि यदृष्टम शास्त्रदृष्टं चेत् भवेत् समासतस्तदुभयो भूयो ज्ञान विवर्धनम. So all these pratyaksh things are there in modern medicine. So we have to go through them first and then try to understand it in our way. So let's start with breast carcinomas. So start from the beginning. What is cancer first? As we all know, cancer is a uncontrolled growth of cells where daughter cell doesn't resemble the mother cell, and this condition is called as dysplasia. So this dysplasia from our Nidan perspective is like a sthana samshraya avastha or vyadhi janma, where this dosha dusha samurchana has already taken place and dysplasia has been formed. So it's a pictorial presentation of dysplasia. We can see that there is a normal tissue in the extreme left, all the cells very nicely arranged. And in hyperplasia, the number of cells have increased. But still the fashion of their arrangement and the cells themselves are very same or similar to the mother cell. But in the extreme right, we can see the number of cells have also been increased. At the same time, the daughter cells are far more different than the mother cell. So this is dysplasia. Hyperplasia will lead to benign tumor, and dysplasia will lead to malignant tumor. This all we know. This was just a preamble or just entry into the subject. Now, one more important thing is what are the types of cancer? We call cancer knowledge as oncology, as onkos means tumor in Greek, and logos means knowledge. This we all know since biology. So there are four basic types of cancer. First will be carcinoma, which will come from epithelium. Again, there are subtypes: squamous cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, and basal cell carcinoma, many more. Then sarcomas will arise from mesenchymal tissue. Leukemias will come from white blood cells, and lymphomas will come from lymph nodes. Most of the times, what happens? Not all, but most of the times during our Ayurveda practice, we are more concerned with the organ. Cancer of which organ? But it is not that important. Definitely, it is important, but along with that, which tissue is involved is also equally important. So we have to keep an eye on that. Now again, you can see there are three words: carcinoma, sarcoma, and lymphoma. There is always the oma at the end. Whenever there is oma as a suffix, it will mean a tumor. This again we know. And leukemia, there is no oma because there is no solid tumor as such. That's why it is also called as a non-solid tumor. Can anybody tell it's a oma, but it's not cancer? Any exception? If anybody knows, you can type in the chat box. Okay, anyway, if we don't have much time, then I will tell the answer immediately. It is glaucoma.
Lymphoma.
Glaucoma is a not tumor, it's a disease of eye, we all know. But still it is a glaucoma. Instead of that, personally, I don't know whether it's a oma, but still it is not a tumor. This tumor can be malignant, benign, any, but oma should be there except for leukemia here and glaucoma there. I hope you got my point. Now let's come to our main point, which is breast cancer. Now, this is again a pictorial presentation or anatomical structure of breast. You can see the organ is one, but again there are many tissues inside that. There is nipple, areola, ducts, lobules, then stroma, muscle is there, pectoralis major, minor, intercostal muscle, ribs are there. So lymph vessels, blood vessels, all these things are there. So any tissue can get converted into malignancy, and technically everybody will be called as a breast cancer. But the origin of tumor, the tissue of origin, if it is different, then the cancer will behave completely differently, and it's a completely different biological entity. So this is what it is written in this slide. Each and every component can turn malignant. All are technically breast cancers. All are biologically totally different, but their initiating tissue will decide their behavior, natural history, and outcome, that is prognosis. So we need to know that what is the tissue from which the cancer is arising and not only the organ. So here in breast, if the tumor comes from duct, then it will be called as adenocarcinoma of duct. Or if it's a lobule, then adenocarcinoma of glands. If it's coming from stromal tumor, then it will be called as a phyllodes tumor. If blood vessel, it will be angiosarcoma. If coming from soft tissue, it will be sarcoma. If lymph node, then lymphoma. And if it's a nipple, then it will be Paget's disease of the nipple. So all these types of cancer are possible in the breast itself. So never just blindly say breast cancer, but try to give the exact definition of the cancer. In Ayurveda, we are very much proud of our Amshansh Kalpana, Doshanam Samavetanam Vikalpo Amshansh Kalpana, and so on. So in the same manner, in malignancy, there is a lot of Amshansh Kalpana, and we need to know most of it. At least we should have a basic idea that all these things are different. Now let's come to epidemiology. Now this breast cancer is the most common non-skin malignancy in women across the globe. Now what is a pity is that it's a neoplasm of external or inside brain. Then from external CT scan, MRI, whatever, PET scan, till then or simple USG chest X-ray, you will not come to know that there is something happening inside the tissue. But breast, you can easily palpate. Many times you are able to see that the breast silhouette has been changed. So it is possible. But in spite of cases. Of course, there are male breast cancers as well. Then hereditary factors are there. Exposure to estrogen and environmental and lifestyle factors are the risk factors in a broad way. Now, if we have a micro dissection of those etiological factors, then germline mutations, if there are there, 5 to 10% cancers are due to that. Then first degree relatives having breast cancer, 15 to 20% patients will show us this type of history. Racially, non-Hispanic white women are more vulnerable as compared to black women. Then age more than 30 is again a etiological factor. 70 to 80 is the peak of incidence. Then age at menarche, all these things are related to estrogen exposure, which was in the last slide. Less than 11, then 20% more risk is there if menarche is less than 11 years of age. Similarly, late menopause, again, there will be a estrogen exposure for longer duration. And age at first live birth. It is said or expected that around 28 to 30 should be the highest age for the first live birth. So if age is more, then there is definitely certain risk of developing breast cancer in future. Then history of benign breast disease in the past. Even if it is treated, removed by surgery, whatever, but still it leaves some khavaigunya over there, and there is a possibility of developing breast cancer in future in such women. Then estrogen exposure due to menopausal hormonal therapy. We call it as a ERT or HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Again, there is a more estrogen exposure, risk of breast cancer will increase. Breast density, if density is higher, risk is higher. Then radiation exposure. If a woman has got, say, lymphoma in her past life, and she has undergone what we can say radiation treatment on the chest, so that radiation may cause breast carcinoma in future. Again, alcohol has some etiological role in the development of breast cancer. Breastfeeding, again, lesser the feeding, more is the risk. Obesity has a dual role. It's somewhat protective before 40 years of age or before menopause, because what happens is, because of obesity, many times there are anovulatory cycles, so that estrogen exposure is reduced. But the same fat or adipose tissue after menopause will start secreting estrogen, and it will add to the risk of breast cancer. So obesity has a dual role before 40 and after 40. Now we have seen 7-8 types of breast cancer, but most of the times, two of them are very much common. First one is ductal carcinomas. There are around 75 to 80% of breast cancers are ductal carcinomas. Again, there are subtypes as per their invasive status. DCIS is ductal carcinoma in situ, where basement membrane has not been yet invaded in situ. And invasive, as the name suggests, or infiltrating, the tumor has invaded the basement membrane, so IDC. Again, there are subtypes as per hormone receptor. We'll come to that afterwards. Then lobular cancers, LCIS and invasive, same way, just remove D and insert L, ductal or lobular. Again, it has hormone receptor subtypes. Now, role of estrogen we have talked about. Hormone exposure will promote breast growth during puberty, menstruation and pregnancy. This we all know. Now what happens is, in a breast, if a malignant tissue has been developed, and if those cells have the receptors for estrogen, then what will happen? The estrogen will promote their proliferation, and increase in number of malignant cells will be faster. So if estrogen receptors is present, then tumor will grow faster. So it's a principal promoter of breast cancer. Then hormone receptors, we have seen. What is a receptor basically? It's a certain protein that will offer seat for attachment of hormones. Even in insulin, diabetes, we know that there are receptors, and unless the insulin will attach to that, blood glucose cannot enter the cell. So that's the role of hormone and receptor. Here, up till now, ERPR, that is estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor, and HER2, like human endodermal growth factor receptor. These types of hormones have been, or receptors have been identified. If the receptors are present, we call them as a positive. And if receptors are absent, we call them negative. Simple. Now there can be many permutations and combinations of ER positive, PR negative, HER2 positive, and so on. But clinically, these three combinations are very much prevalent and important. ERPR positive but HER2 negative, around 50 to 60% cases are of this category. Then ERPR may be positive, may be negative, but HER2 positive, these types of cancer are around 20%. And ERPR, HER2, all three negative, we call it as a triple negative breast cancer or TNBC. There are around 15% of such cancers. Now, ER positive cancers are found more in elder women. There are 2-3 causes behind it, because as the age will increase, estrogen exposure will increase automatically. So this is the first cause. For menopause, if the woman has undergone HRT, then again estrogen exposure is increased. This is again a thing. So that will increase the incidence. And third thing is that these ER positive cancers are very much sensitive for mammography, and they are caught in mammography. ER negative cancers might be mistaken as a negative or pseudo negative, false negative for mammography, but ER positive cancers are always found in mammography. So after 40 years of age, when mammography will increase, then these types of cancer will be diagnosed very easily. So that is again a reason why there is a increased incidence of ER positive cancers in elder women. And ER negative cancers are seen, and HER2 positive, they are found in younger women. So at least this thing we should keep in our minds: ER positive elder, ER negative younger, HER2 positive younger. So that is the essence. Now let's come to hormone therapy. There are 2 types of therapies are available. If receptor is there, then we can block the receptor, like by medicines like tamoxifen. Or there is a different class of medicine called as aromatic inhibitors that will inhibit the estrogen synthesis. Sometimes surgically ovaries are also removed to save the breast tissue from estrogens. So these types of treatments, preventive treatments are available. Now HER2 positive cancers, we already seen human epidermal growth factor receptor. These types of cancer are there. Now this is a protein, and this protein is produced in larger than normal amount by some types of breast cells. So this protein will promote the growth of breast cancer. This is the issue. Now there are different medicines again available to block this type of receptors of this protein. The principally used drug is trastuzumab, which is a sort of monoclonal antibody. It's not a conventional chemotherapy. It's a somewhat different monoclonal antibody. Then next type was TNBC, or triple negative breast cancer. We have seen that 10 to 15% of all breast cancer are TNBC. Now these types of cancer grow and spread very fast. Up till now we were saying that because of estrogen, then tumor will grow. Because of HER2, tumor will grow fast. Now you are saying when it is negative, still tumor will grow fast. What is the reason behind that? The reason is limited treatment options are available to us. I always remember of Adhog Rakta Pitta in this case. They say that Adhoyapyam Chaladesmat Tat Prachardana Sadhanam Alpaushadhancha Pittasya Vamanam na Varaushadam. So less medicines are available for Adhog Rakta Pitta, and Vaman, which is not principal treatment of Pitta, we have to do that for Pratimargancha Haranam sort of treatment. So because of these things, Adhog Rakta Pitta is Yapya. Similarly, here in TNBC, we have less number of medicines available to fight with the disease. So this disease becomes very much guarded prognosis and very much aggressive. It is considered that if a TNBC cancer of grade 2 is considered equivalent to grade 3 cancer of ERPR or HER2 positive cases. So it's one step ahead of its contemporary cancers. So it has a guarded prognosis, and generally it is related with BRCA1 gene expression. Now what is this BRCA1? We'll come to that in next slide. BRCA1 and BRCA2 are the major known susceptibility genes for breast cancer. They are a type of tumor suppressor genes. Up till now, there are many have been identified. BRCA1 and BRCA2 are most common. In addition to that, TP53 or CHEK2 are also such type of genes. Now the mutations of these BRCA1 and BRCA2 are responsible for 80 to 90% of the familial breast cancer patients. So if a lady showing these BRCA1, BRCA2 gene mutations, what we have to do is we have to check all the females of her family, whether they are getting that type of mutation. And if a woman is showing that type of mutation, now she is susceptible to get this type of breast cancer in future. So do you remember some story or some big name behind this story? Most of you have been, must be able to understand. She is Angelina Jolie. She was this type of BRCA1, BRCA2 positive, and she underwent prophylactic bilateral mastectomy. So that option is also available for this type of things, but not always it has been done. All this topic was popularized because of her globally. So we have to keep them monitoring, and whatever smallest of the suspicion, we have to start the treatment. That's the issue. So it is also a risk factor for male breast cancer and ovarian cancers in female. So BRCA1, BRCA2, again, we have to remember. Now let's come to male breast cancer. It's only 1% incidence, we have already seen. Risk factor, most of the risk factors are same except for this pre-menstrual, post-menstrual obesity and all these things, because there is no menstruation in males. But most of the risk factors are same. ER positivity is very common, around 81%. So they are comparatively easy to treat because we have treatment modalities like tamoxifen or letrozole sort of medicine. Now it is generally only a palpable subareolar mass. This because what happens in males, all this lactation apparatus is rudimentary and it is just behind the areola. It is not spread all over the breast. So whatever malignancy is going to happen will happen only in that small area. So generally male breast cancers look like this. You can see in the left breast there is a small malignant tumor there and areola has been pushed upwards. So this is a most common and typical presentation of male breast cancer. Now grading and staging, this is also an important issue. Many times we think grade and stage as a synonymal. I say grade or stage, kya farak padta hai sort of thing. But I think we are all Nidan people, we know this very well, but just a revision, grade is always microscopic, means what microscope is telling you, or slide is telling you, biopsy, and stage is clinical or pathological. We'll come to that. Now we have seen that in dysplasia, what happens? Daughter cells and mother cells are not similar. So the degree of their differentiation, more is the difference, then higher is the grade. And more is the simile, lower is the grade. So well differentiated, what will it mean? So it is around 20-25% of difference from the mother cell. Moderately differentiated, little more, and poorly differentiated, there is hardly any similarity between daughter cell and mother cell. Will be the understanding by grading, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 sort of, or in biopsy report, we will always read this sentence, well differentiated, moderately differentiated, poorly differentiated, and so on. Now staging, which has been currently revised by AJCC, American Joint Committee for Cancer. So TNM staging, again, we all know. CIS, carcinoma in situ, means tumor has not yet invaded the basement membrane and no tumor, no metastasis, it will be called as stage 0. IC, invasive carcinoma less than 2 centimeter, grade 1. More than 2 centimeter and lymph node 1 to 3, again grade 2. Carcinoma more than 5 centimeter, then even if no lymph node is there, still the grade will be 3. So tumor burden, nodes involved and metastasis, you have to take all three into account together. Now invasive carcinoma more than 4, again it will be grade more than 4 lymph nodes and any width of invasive carcinoma, again it will also be grade 3. Both will be called as grade 3. Inflamed breast, if it is there, then if any nodes are there, still it will be called as grade 3, because inflamed breast cancer is again a totally different topic and it is very aggressive. And whatever invasive carcinoma, whatever nodes, but distant metastases are present, then it will be called as grade 4. Means if a tumor is very small, only one lymph node is palpable, but cancer is visible in lungs or liver or bone or brain, still it will be called as a grade 4 cancer. In practice, many times we hear these types of symptoms. अरे उसका कैंसर एकदम फाइनल स्टेज में डायग्नोस हो गया. What does it mean? in final stage, what does it mean? That distant metastasis has occurred. Whenever there is distant metastasis, grade is directly 4, then there is no value of tumor and node score. Now, what are the signs and symptoms of breast cancer? New lump or palpable mass. It is palpable in the breast to the lady or the treating doctor, whatever. Then generally it is painless, hard and irregular, but not necessarily always. It can be painful or it can be soft as well. It can be irregular most of the times. It can be adherent also. Then swelling all over the breast can be seen. Skin dimpling is a very important symptom, which is many women can observe this skin dimpling in their breast and which will lead to diagnosis. Then breast or nipple pain is also a common symptom. Nipple retraction is important symptom. Dry flaking or thickened skin of the breast. It is just like a orange skin, the fruit of orange. The skin of that orange, we know, you can visualize that skin, thick sort of skin. And if such skin is visible, that is also important sign or symptom of breast cancer. Then swollen lymph nodes, especially axillary lymph node. So this is a pictorial presentation of all those symptoms and signs which we have already discussed. There are 8 such signs and symptoms. So all this type of patient education after the 40 years of age should be given to all the women of the society. Now, what are the prognostic and predictive values? Means how do you understand that this cancer has a good prognosis or this patient will have a bad prognosis sort of thing? Again, there are 2 such parameters. First one is extent of tumor, or we call it as a tumor burden. If it's an invasive carcinoma, definitely prognosis will be bad. In situ, prognosis is good. Distant metastasis, we have already seen that it's a grade 4 cancer then, so bad prognosis. Lymph node metastasis, more the lymph node, worse the prognosis. Tumor size, bigger the size, prognosis not good. Locally advanced disease, if the tumor is getting adhered to the underlying muscle like pectoralic muscle, major muscle or minor, or even intercostal muscle, as the degree of local invasion is more, prognosis is bad. Level of inflammation, more the inflammation in the breast, prognosis is not good. Then lymphovascular invasion, more the invasion, guarded is the prognosis. So all these were clinical things, and this is underlying biology of tumor which microscope will tell us. So what is the histology grade? Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, more the grade, worse the prognosis. Rate of proliferation, if proliferation is very fast, again prognosis will not be good. And ERPR HER2 status, if positive, then prognosis is good. If negative, then prognosis is not that good. So this was our half part, means understanding from modern perspective. Now let's come to Ayurveda. Many times what happens, people are more interested in medicine. Tell us what medicines you are giving. We are interested in that. We don't want all this blah, 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 we can say. But Charak has rightly said, Rogamadav pariksheta tato nantaram aushadam. You have to understand the disease first, and afterwards you have to go for the treatment part. And how do you understand the disease? It's Nidan Panchak. Nidanam Purva Rupani Rupani Pashastatha Sampraptischeti Vijnanam Roganam Panchadas Mrutam. And Madhukoshtika says, Toete Vyastaha Samastascha Vyadhibodaka. So you should go through all these things. And as the disease is new, for all these things, Nidan, Purva Rup, Rup, and Upashay, we need to take help of modern medicine. And from that information, we can derive our own Samprapti. So let's come to Ayurveda part. Now what information we have seen and how we are going to interpret. Again, there is a disclaimer. These are all my personal individual thoughts. There is no claim at all that all this is exactly correct and I am up and you have to follow this blindly. No, not at all. These are my observations or understandings as on today. Maybe 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, they might change afterwards. And change is the only permanent thing in the world. So if you agree with this, you can take. If you don't agree, don't stop there. Think over, go ahead and come with newer conclusions and try it in your practice. That is very much important. Whatever you are talking should be seen in your clinical practice, or theoretical blah, 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 we can do a lot. We are famous for that. So ductal carcinomas and lobular both are mostly adenocarcinomas. So if you understand adenocarcinoma as mucus gland, so by and large, kapha dominance should always be kept in mind. Both in ductal and lobular carcinomas, by and large, there is kapha dominance. But again, cancer is not a single dosha disease. It is a sannipatik avastha. So there is some differentiation between ductal and lobular. What happens if duct is a channel? So channel, we call it as a sira or stanyava sira to be more precise. Now we know that sira develop from rakta, asruja kandara sira. So principal dusha for ductal carcinoma we should understand as rakta. And dosha we have already talked about kapha. Now another point is the ductal cancers are more aggressive and comparatively poor prognosis. This also we know now from modern medicine. So aggressive, always it should be vata and pitta. Kapha is a sort of sthira or manda type of thing. So vata pitta dominance in addition to kapha dosh. I always remember this Pandu. Pitta pradhana kupita yathoktai kopanai mala tatra nilena balina kshiptam pittam hrudisthitam sort of thing. So all the three doshas are taking part and their roles are a bit different. So here basic dosh is kapha, but pitta and vata or vata and pitta are the subordinate but extremely important doshas. And again rakta dusha, more aggressive nature is again explained by rakta dusha. We know that शीतोष्ण स्निग्ध रुक्षाद्य रूपक्रांतश्च ये गदा सम्यक साध्यने सिद्ध्यन्ति रक्तजान स्थान विभावयेत. So whatever treatment you give, that tumor will just don't respond. Not only tumor, that disease will not respond. Then we always think of rakta involvement in that. So in ductal carcinoma, kapha is the principal dosh, vata pitta are the subordinate doshas, and rakta is the principal dosha. Now let's come to lobular carcinoma. So if glands are the actual places of milk formation, and we know stanya is formed from rasa. So principal dosha for lobular carcinoma, we can think of rasa dhatu more. There it was rakta, in ductal it was rakta, here it is rasa. Again, they are less aggressive and comparatively better prognosis. So again, no need of considering rakta here. And kapha is the principal dosha. So lobular carcinomas are more kapha dominant and rasa is the dosha. And ductal carcinomas are more kapha vata pitta dominant and rakta is the principal dosha in them, in addition to all others. Now next point was whether cancer is invasive or non-invasive. Now the process of invasion, what will it need? It will need tikshna, sukshma and chalagunas. So invasive, whenever the cancer is invasive, again it has to be considered as a more vata pitta or pitta vata dominant as compared to non-invasive state. Again, which makes it more bad prognosis sort of thing. Now ERPR positive or negative. This also we have seen. If estrogen and progesterone are related with more or less process of menstruation. So what happens if hormone receptors are present? Then vitiated, we must think of vitiated rasa, raja and shukra because they will have direct contribution in the samprapti. Also, there is some additional kha vaigunya at the tumor cells so that they are susceptible to this vitiated raja and shukra. So we must include some medicine for this type of phenomena. Then when hormone receptors are absent, then there is no such kha vaigunya and our treatment should also change as per the diagnosis. Now HER2, again, this is still I am also not reaching to any confirmed conclusion. If HER2 is positive and HER2 is negative, then how to interpret it in our language? My thought process is still on. If you have some idea, then always welcome. Please contact, text, call, message, whatever, and we can have a discussion and we can go to some conclusion. It may prove wrong in future, but that's okay. But we need to reach to some conclusion. So HER2 is still a big question mark even in front of me. Now grading and Ayurveda perspective. If a grade 1 to grade 3, we know that degree of differentiation is getting lost. If you remember that dysplasia figure, then daughter cell and mother cells are not similar. They are different. In our language, they are vishama as compared to daughter cell. So increasing the level of vaishamya is there in the malignant cells. So increasing vata dominance, not only in breast cancer, everywhere, when grade will increase, we have to think of vata dominance and its dushti by Vishama Guna, not only vata dominance, but dushti by Vishama Guna. Because again in Charak Vimansthana Adhyay first, he tells that Madhuramla Lavanastu Katutikta Kashayastu Vatam Janayanti. Madhuramla Lavanastu Enam Shamayanti. Now it's okay, Katutikta Kashaya will increase the Vayu and Madhuramla Lavan will suppress or pacify that Vayu. It's not the case. Chakrapani that asks in his Tika that why Enam Shamayanti? He could have written Katutikta Kashayastu Vatam Vardhayanti, Madhuramla Lavanastu Vatam Shamayanti. Game over. But it is not the case. The word Enam, what it tells us that if vata is being vitiated by katu, tikta and kashaya rasas, then only Madhuramla Lavan will pacify it. If you give some different medicine, say you ask him to sleep, then that type of vata will not be corrected. Or vata prakopa is due to Ratrau Jagran and you give him Madhuramla Lavan, then that type of vata will not be pacified by this type of treatment. So our treatment should be Guna Viruddha as well. So we need to think of some Sama Guna of medicine which have Sama Guna inside them, and we need to use that in more quantity for a higher grade. So correction of Vishama Guna of Vayu is the key thing which is to be kept in mind. Now in staging, especially if it is distant metastasis, then what happens? It's a Gambhir Dhatugat Avastha as from our perspective. And those involvement of Madhyam Marga we have to think of, because all these lungs, liver, brain, bones, all these are Madhyam Marga. And we know that Prayastiryak Gata Dosha Kleshayantya Turamshiram. So whenever there is Madhyam Marga involvement, prognosis becomes guarded. So we have to think of that. Again, we have to think of bringing those doshas back, or we have to Shamayattan Prayogena Sukhamva Koshtamanayat sort of. We have to pacify them there only, or if possible, you have to bring them back to Koshtha. In cancer, it is not possible to bring back all those metastases to our Koshtha again. So we have to pacify them there. But definitely prognosis will get poorer and poorer. Now what is the Dravya Sangraha then? After all this discussion, what can be the Dravya Sangraha of breast carcinoma? In Kushtha, this concept has been used, Dravya Sangraha. What is that? Vayu, Pitta, Kapha and Tvaglasika Srugamisham. These 7 is a Dravya, Kushtha Dravya Sangraha. So similarly in breast cancer, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Rasa, Rakta, Stanyava, Srotas, Raja, that is Artava, and Shukra and Oja together will make the Dravya Sangraha of breast carcinoma. Now let's come to our last part, treatment protocol. How the treatment should be planned, and now point of interest. Which medicines? Tell us the medicines. What are the medicines which you are using? Other things, it's okay. We'll understand afterwards. Many times I get phone calls or WhatsApp. So reports have been sent to you, and now tell me the medicine. But really and very sincerely, it is not really possible to suggest some medicine haphazard manner. We can do it, no doubt, but it is not logical or ethical to more extent giving such type of medicine. So if I tell that it is not possible, then people will think, he don't want to reveal his secrecy, or he wants to keep his medicine secret, but can't help that. But generally, without going through the reports and going through the patient, it's really difficult to plan a treatment protocol, because we have to think of n number of factors before planning the treatment. So I'm just enlisting few medicines which are very commonly used in my practice. For Vata dominant conditions, now how to define Vata dominant conditions, we have all seen those things. And we have to do all that exercise, and accordingly, we have to understand what are the Vata dominant conditions. So Dashamula Rishta, Jirakadya Rishta, Balaguduchadi, maybe Ghruta, Taila, Kashayam, whatever. All these things are available from Kerala pharmacies. They are very much in use. And from Suvarna Kalpas, the last line, Purna Chandrodaya Ras or Bruhadvat Chintamani Ras are again drugs of choice. Again, what happens in Vata dominant conditions, we know Vayor Dhatukshayat Kopo Margasya Varane Nava. So again, we have to see that this Vata Prakop is due to Dhatukshaya or Marga Avrod again. So again, that one hitch is always there. For Pitta dominant condition, there can be Chandana Sava or Dhatradi Ghruta, Phalasarpish Ghrutam, Vidaryadi Ghrutam again. These are the drugs of choice. Then Vasanta Kusumakar or Suvarna Sutshekar are the drugs of choice from gold compounds. If you want to use some gold preparation to that person, then this type of gold preparations can be preferred. And in kapha dominant conditions, this Pippalya Sav or Kumariya Sav, then Vacha Haridradi is a very much useful combination from Ashtang Hridaya Sutrasthan 15th chapter. Vacha Haridradi Ganava Amati Saranashanav. I don't remember the third line, but Stanya Dosha Nibarhanam. It is there in their Phalashruti. So Vacha Haridradi Gana is very much in use in my practice. And Suvarna Malini Vasanta, of course, because the combination of Suvarna Malini Vasanta, it has Suvarna, it has Jasad Basma. At the same time, it has Maricha as well, because Maricha is a Pramathi Dravya. What is Pramathi? Nijaviryena Yadravyam Srotobhyo Dosha Sanchayam Nirasyati Pramathi Syat Tadyatha Maricham Vacha. So in Vacha Haridradi Ganav, there is Vacha. And here it is Maricha. So Vacha and Maricha are again drugs of choice. Suvarna Malini Vasanta, again it has Navanit or butter in that. Again, Nimbuka, Amlaras. So, Suvarna Malini Vasanta stands a very good treatment option, especially for kapha dominant condition. So, again, this is the extreme last part of our presentation. How to plan the treatment. Now, all modern information has been given. Our Samprapti has been explained. How to understand those facts from our perspective. This also has been explained. And medicines have also been explained, but how to plan the treatment actually. So for that, we need Roga Pariksha and Rogi Pariksha together. We are all Nidan people, and for that, Roga and Rogi Pariksha both are equally important. Now in cancer, we have 4 ways to collect this information for Roga Pariksha and Rogi Pariksha. First one is report. Second one is clinical history of present illness. Third one is past treatment history. And finally, current clinical condition of the patient. Now, many times, many experts say, I don't understand reports, keep them all aside, and I will give you medicine, you will be okay. But they are sort of Siddha Sadhit Vaidyas. We all are mainly Yukti Yukta type of Vaidyas. We know this Shastra, Yukti, and for that, personally, I need reports. I go through all the reports, then we'll come to that in the next slide. So, what reports will tell you? Reports will tell you the exact diagnosis of the condition. Means what is the diagnosis along with its grade, what is its grade, what is stage, what is the type, and what is subtype. All will be mentioned in the report of the patient. So report is extremely important. Then extent of the disease. If a patient has a PET scan with him or her, then you can see that whether it has spread into distant organs or not. So again, we can derive a general idea about prognosis of this diagnosis, means Roga Pariksha. In this patient of CA breast, grade 2, stage 2, ER/PR negative, and no distant metastasis. This type of diagnosis is there. Then what is the general idea about the prognosis of this patient or spread of the disease? That can be told to us by the reports which are available. Then clinical history that will tell us nature of onset, how the disease has started, what was the duration of since onset, means today patient has come to you, but the disease has started 5 years back, then prognosis will change. Disease has started 6 months back, prognosis will change. So that duration is also very important, which will be told to us by clinical history. Then speed of disease progression, how fast this disease is spreading. Now cancer came for the first time 1 year ago. Within 3 months it went to liver. Next 2 months it went to brain. Next 2 months it went to bone. Fast progression. Or it came 4 years ago, but we removed it and today there is nothing. So it's a slow progression. So you get the nature of the disease or the behavior of the disease. How is it? How fast or slow? So it will give you a general idea about prognosis in this patient now. But at the same time, it will be Roga Pariksha as well. So clinical history will give you both Roga Pariksha and Rogi Pariksha together. So that is also important. That's why only merely going through the reports and giving medicine is a bit difficult. We need to know the clinical history as well. Then past treatment history. What treatment patient has undergone in the past for the same disease, whether surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, or all the treatments he or she has taken. And what was the efficacy of those treatments? There can be different scenarios that some patient took surgery, radiation, chemo, and now he or she is perfectly fine. Or some patient, the tumor regressed, but it came back after 4 or 5 months. Or in some patients, even after all these treatments, tumor is as it is. So again, it will tell you the prognosis that whether those treatments were effective or not. And depending upon that efficacy, you can have your own idea about the disease. Now again, if currently patient is on any treatments, especially in breast cancer, we have seen, if the patient is taking some hormone blocker treatment, if he or she is taking it or not, then again, prognosis is a bit different. And if any additional supportive surgery has been done, I have already given the example of oophorectomy in breast cancer, or in a, what we can say, prostate cancer in males, testes are removed just to save the prostate from testosterone. So if such type of supportive surgery, which is not directly a cancer surgery, but it will help to improve the prognosis of cancer. But again, because of removal of all these important organs, there has to be some impact on normal physiology. So we have to think of those all things at the same time. So past treatment history will give you all these vital details about the patient. And lastly, current clinical condition. Now, how is the patient today? Now, this will give you the information of his or her today's status. But we also need a past. So for that, last 3 slides were important. Now, this current clinical condition, we call it as a GC. In general condition, how is the general condition of the patient? There are different scoring methods for that. ECOG or Karnofsky scales are there. Then quality of life criteria, it's developed by EORTC, which is European Organization for Research and Treatment in Cancer. So there is a standard questionnaire which will tell you whether the QOL of the patient, it is called as QLQ, quality of life questionnaire. So QOL of the patient is improving or worsening, sort of thing. Then symptoms, what symptoms are present right now. Then there are different types of symptoms. Some are due to disease, some are due to prior treatments, some are sort of sequelae or Udarka type of symptoms are there. Then there are some generalized symptoms like cachexia, anorexia. So all the symptoms have been messed up. So again, we have to classify them and deal with everybody individually. And from again our perspective, Dushyam, Desham, Balam, Kalam, we should not forget, we must not forget that Analam Prakritim Vaya, Satvam, Satnam, Tathaharam, Avasthascha, Pruthagvida. So we have to take all these things into account. And then we can suggest some good treatment or valid treatment, we can say. Will it prove useful or not is another issue. But at least I have done justice to whatever my understanding and my knowledge and the patient condition is there. That satisfaction should be there back of the mind. So we have to think of all these things. This is the last, second last slide, you can say. Last is all, of course, thank you slide. References, this is also very important. These are very good books or references to read or to go through. This Washington Manual of Oncology, it's a good handbook, gives us sufficiently good information about majority of the cancers. Then Cancer by D. Vita is definitely a Bible of cancer, or Bhagavad Gita of cancer. Nowadays we have to talk that. And Oxford Handbook of Oncology is a short textbook, just like notes and first-hand information about most of the cancer. Harrison Textbook of Medicine, definitely a Bible of all medicine, and it deals with the topic of cancer very robustly or very nicely. And principally, I will suggest this Robbins Textbook of Pathology. it gives very wonderful information, what we need in our practice. Cancer D Vita will give you a lot. Many of the things may not be that much important for our practical or clinical practice, but Robbins textbook of pathology, I think everyone should go through it. Then cancer.org is the official website of cancer by European American Oncology Unit. NCCN or National Comprehensive Cancer Network is also very good references you can find online on that. And of course, for Ayurveda part, there is Bruhatrayi, Laghutrayi, and all these our wonderful text books for easy and valid references. So thank you very much for the patient listening. And once again, thanks to our Rog Nidan Parishad, Rog Nidan Academy for giving me this opportunity to present my views. Maybe right or wrong, I really don't know. But definitely, thank you for everything. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Sir.
I think I was in time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
इसी विषय पे चलते अगर कुछ क्वेश्चंस है
रंजित सर,
हाँ.
बैठ के
रंजित सर,
Yes, yes, listening.
रंजित सर को बधाई हो। रंजित सर,
जी सर, आवाज आ रही है आपकी? बैठ गए
आवाज आ
सर?
रही ना?
हाँ.
हाँ जी सर।
आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन अच्छा था और आपने
हाँ,
प्रयत्न
thank you, sir.
किया है कि बट मोस्ट ऑफ दी थिंग्स आपने मैक्सिमम मॉडर्न कवर किया इस बार लेक्चर में। तो
हाँ.
हम ये आपसे थोड़ी सी उम्मीद कर रहे थे कि उसका जो संप्राप्ति घटक है, आयुर्वेद की संप्राप्ति घटक और जो अर्बुद के लेके थोड़े से आपने, मैंने उसको थोड़े से एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था आपसे, बट मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स यू कवर्ड द मॉडर्न पोर्शन, so we're expecting you in collaboration of the Ayurvedic thoughts. So next time आप जब भी present करेंगे तो we expect you to include that point also, so that the what kind of correlations we can make out with the various kinds of arbudas mentioned in Ayurveda. You may not get in one particular place, but there are scattered references are available in the classical text regarding the arbudas. But we need to put it in one particular thing, and then it needs to be addressed, and what possible correlations we can make with the present understanding of the cancer. So that we that was expected from your lecture.
No, okay, we can discuss about it, no problem at all. Actually, the topic was breast cancer, so I was more focusing on the breast. But tumor or arbuda, we can say as a general cancer. So I have that thought process regarding it. I will present it in 2 or 3 minutes. Many times we consider cancer as arbuda, means Ayurveda has told or Ayurveda has mentioned cancer like arbuda, and especially dvirarbuda or adhyarbuda, which are mentioned as asadhya sort of things. But what happens is, personally, my personal understanding or thought process is that Ayurveda doesn't mention cancer at all. It is a totally new disease, and we cannot correlate cancer with arbud. The reason or justification behind it is, what happens is a metastasis is a very peculiar property of cancer. Now, whether it is dvirarbud or adhyarbud, has it been mentioned in the text that once you remove that tumor, it comes there again after say 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or it comes in some other organ even after its removal. In my reading of the all the Bruhatrayi or Laghutrayi, I have not found any single reference which mentions that once tumor removed from one place is coming to some other place or at the same place after few months or even years. So because this very fact of metastasis makes cancer a very different disease, and which is not, means my personal understanding is that it is not mentioned in our text. We have to understand it is a anukta disease or new disease. And even if it is not mentioned in our text, that doesn't make any difference actually. Because we know vikaranama kushalo najiriyat kadachana nahi sarva vikaranam namatosti dhruvastiti. So even if you don't know the name, that doesn't make much difference. You can have, anyway understand the samprapti of disease and treat the patient. So whether it has been mentioned in Ayurveda or not is means not we should not waste our time in finding that. Whatever is in front of us, we should understand that and go ahead. Is my understanding behind it.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Sir, there is
धन्यवाद
one.
निंबाळकर.
Sir, there is some question. Please explain. Dr. Gautam has asked. Please explain lobular and duct difference by Ayurveda view. And his another question is, can we correlate Vimarga Gaman as metastasis?
Lobular and already I have mentioned in that in my
Okay, sir.
presentation. Gautam, you are
Gautam
there or
Gunde
not?
has asked.
Yes, he is my student actually.
रेंज गेली होती सर.
Okay. You were not
Sir,
in range.
and
It's okay.
Dr.
Then okay, I
Arun
will explain
Dudmal
it
has.
again, no problem. No, I will take this question first. What happens in ductal carcinoma? If it's a duct, then it's a sira. That's again my understanding. And we know Asruja Kandara sira. So origin of sira is Asruja. So that's why in ductal carcinoma we think of Asruja or Rakta as Dushya. And ductal carcinomas are more aggressive. So for that reason, we think of Vata and Pitta doshas along with Kapha in ductal. So ductal is Kapha Vata Pitta dominant and Rakta as Dushya. Whereas in lobular, they are less aggressive and more localized. So we think of Kapha again. So because it's adenocarcinoma, we think of Kapha. Again in lobular, it's more Kapha. And Stanya Nirmiti, if we consider as that lobule, then rasa is the dhatu behind it. So in lobular carcinoma, it is kapha dominant and rasa as principal dusha. So it's a small difference between ductal and lobular carcinomas.
Sir, Dr. Dudmal sir has raised his hand.
हाँ,
Dudmal sir. Hello.
नमस्ते सर जी.
हेलो.
हाँ,
हाँ नमस्कार
हाँ
सर.
सर बोला.
नमस्ते.
हेलो. हाँ
बोलिए सर जी.
actually my question is regarding the mutation, genetic mutation in cancer.
हाँ.
Is there any study available for as a Ayurvedic medicine can change the genetic mutation in cancer? Is there any study available? I am not asking for your study. लेकिन
हाँ. No, that I
नेट पे
understood.
या किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में या नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट या किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में किसी ने काम किया है जेनेटिक म्यूटेशन के ऊपर आयुर्वेदिक ड्रग्स को लेकर या हर्बल ड्रग्स को लेकर?
Frankly speaking, I really don't know अगर ऐसे कुछ हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है. We hear a lot of claims that this is doing this or it can be improved even in the say Garbha Sanskar or Pusavan like sort of thing. We come across many such things, but I really don't know whether there is some robust data to prove it undoubtedly that these things are happening and they happen. If it is the case, then really we will be very in a good position to treat this disease in a very much more better fashion.
Yeah, because the basic concept in cancer is the genetic mutation. Most of the pathology is deal with the genetic mutation. Whatever happens in the
undoubtedly.
Therefore, we have to evaluate whether the cancer, when the cancer is rising, cancer metastasis or cancer is generating in body cells. It must be evaluated or operated. Actually, the treatment should be given on the genetic condition. If the genetic medicine, genetic engineering, we know the advanced science is developing. And if we are implanting some Ayurvedic role in the genetic medicine or Ayurvedic in genetic
modern
science.
medicine, lots of things are occurring.
Yeah.
And we just say Purusham Viksha or tailor-made medicine sort of things. But in modern oncology, in 5 to 10 years down the line, now already today they are able to tell by genetic screening that which medicine will be useful for which patient. Now in most of the cancers, we give the same chemotherapy medicine for that diagnosis. but slowly they are moving towards that, and they know that if this type of gene loci are present, then this chemotherapy should be used or this monoclonal antibody should be used. So they are
Actually,
already doing it. But
okay.
and in my case, generally what happens, this clinical practice and clinical research or any medical research are two different things. We have
Yeah.
to deal with the patient, and for this
Actually,
type
my
of genetic
question,
research,
I have raised
huh,
question because some our
huh,
Hello.
hello,
दुबे सर
hello,
बोला.
Hello. Good one, sir.
hello,
सर
hello.
हाँ
आप.
सर, बोलिए
हाँ,
बोलिए.
आवाज आए? मैं audible?
हाँ सर.
yes,
Yes
yes,
sir.
Why-
Yes, yes.
I just put raise this question due to I want to appeal to our stalwart in Ayurveda. They must this issue must be raised in the government on the platform of government platform. Give us
definitely,
give us some opportunity. Just
huh,
we have seen that COVID, we don't get such opportunity.
hmm,
This in COVID situation, we have a lot of opportunities, but the government not
correct,
given such platform to us. Therefore, cancer is next after COVID. Cancer is there.
yes, yes, it
Yeah,
is going to remain.
yeah,
COVID may vanish, but cancer
yeah,
will remain.
yeah,
What happens is we have all seeds.
yeah.
Now we have this Shukra Shodhan Gana.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
our
We
text we
have a lot
have,
of medicines. Yeah,
but we have not sowed them in our farms, and we do not know where they really reap or not.
yeah.
So for that purpose, we have to do a lot of means exercise, and really for these are all big things, and we need a lot of monitorial support and all setup also.
Yeah.
And for that, yes, what you said is only government or many big private firms can do it. But what happens for that to fetch their attention,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
should be able to show some good results first. So if we show some good results, then only they will show interest that, oh, at least this thing is happening. So
There's some
let us put
person,
some money
some
into it.
I think Jyoti Megdambar from Nanded College. She is doing very well practice in
Yes, yes,
breast
yes. She's
cancer.
very doing very nice. I think she's there. She's doing wonderful work in breast carcinoma.
Uh,
Yes. We
Such
really need
persons
that
are
type of
available
thing.
in our group.
Hmm.
So
Correct.
those persons must put this use this platform for
Correct.
raising such issues.
And many
Yes.
times we talk that government is giving lots of funds to modern medicine
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they are not giving anything to Ayurveda,
Actually,
lots
this
of things.
gov-
Let me finish.
government. Go,
Just
okay,
let me
okay,
finish.
okay.
We many times we
Thank you.
talk that modern medicine they are giving lots of funds, or even in the past also they are being given lot of funds. But why they were given funds? We need to think about it. Why? Because they showed some improvement or some miraculous results or some good results initially on their own. When this first antibiotic was invented or discovered, whatever, then that Fleming didn't get any, we can say, funds from government. But when he showed that promising result, then attraction of the other people was fetched towards him. And afterwards he got funds and then research was done. And then the development, further development was there. So now, right now, I personally feel that ball is in our court. We need to show something promising, miraculous, and duly documented. Not only claim that I gave medicine and patient is okay. Now those days have gone now. We have to show it in a very scientific manner, evidence-based manner, that see, this was the diagnosis, not only cancer. Please, I always make this request to everyone. Please don't use the word merely cancer. Please try to be specific as per his diagnosis. In our Ayurveda case also, while teaching, most of the times we teach students that don't just make the diagnosis as Pandu. Make a habit to make a diagnosis of Vatash Pandu or Pittash Pandu or Mrudbhakshanjanya Vatash Pandu or Samavastha, Niramavastha. Whatever details you can give in the diagnosis, they are very much important. But whatever we teach for 1.5 hours or no, one year, again in the exam, they will write Pandu. They will not write the complete diagnosis. So we need to develop that habit into us. may it be Ayurveda or may it be modern medicine or especially oncology. Please, please, please never say I treated a cancer patient. Never say I treated a breast cancer patient. Please give all the details. I treated a invasive ductal carcinoma stage 2 grade 3 patient post-operative post-radiation ERPR positive taking letrozole. Such patient is very good for now 15 years with me. Please try to tell all these details. Unless we indulge into all this scientific attitude, I think we will be misled somewhere and will not be able to fetch the attraction of the funding bodies. That is my personal opinion. Of course, it can be completely wrong. I am totally aware of this. Thank you.
थैंक यू निम्बाड़कर सर। हमारे पास और भी बहुत से सवाल हैं। डॉक्टर सविता पासलकर, डॉक्टर स्वप्नीला मलशेट्टी, डॉक्टर शुभम कुमार और डॉक्टर ऋषिकेश मालवदे। लेकिन समय के चलते लगता है कि हम ग्रुप पे इन सब क्वेश्चंस का हम डिस्कशन करें।
डेफिनेटली।
आज का आपका ये लेक्चर बहुत ही अच्छा हुआ। बहुत ही आसान तरीके से और सहज तरीके से आपने इस एक क्लिष्ट विषय को आपने सबके सामने रखा। आपके इस प्रेजेंटेशन से आपका इस विषय में अभ्यास और अनुभव दोनों ही पता चलते हैं। मैं आशा करती हूँ कि आने वाले समय में आप अपना और ज़्यादा इस विषय में दें और आयुर्वेद में कैंसर का काम करने में आपका जो सहकार्य है और आपका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है ये बढ़ता ही रहे। मैं समय के चलते आज इस लेक्चर को कंक्लूड करना चाहूँगी। आपका अकेडमी की तरफ से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जो आपने यहाँ पे आपका मूल्यवान समय दिया और हमारे लिए इतना अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन किया। हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए सभी सदस्य आज बहुत ही ज़्यादा धीरे धीरे बहुत ज़्यादा सदस्य हमें उत्साहित होकर यहाँ पे जुड़ने लगे हैं, तो सभी सदस्यों को मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी। सभी ने नियमों का पालन किया, इसलिए भी सभी को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी। डॉक्टर प्रशांत सर को फिर से एक बार जन्मदिन की बधाई। और गणेश कोले सर को मैं विशेष धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी क्योंकि वो हमेशा उन्होंने वॉलेंटरीली ये काम हाथ में लिया है और हमारे लिए हर शनिवार को ये फ्लायर्स बनाते हैं, मीटिंग आईडी सेट करते हैं, रोग निदान अकेडमी के FB पेज पे डालते हैं। तो ये सब वॉलेंटरीली उन्होंने ये काम हाथ में लिया है और शनिवार दोपहर का हमारे साथ यहाँ पे एकेडमी के काम के लिए देते हैं, इसलिए मैं उनका विशेष रूप से धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगी। और और आज ये कोरोना के चलते आप सभी लोग स्वस्थ रहे और अपने घर में सुरक्षित रहे, अपने काम की जगह पे सुरक्षित रहे, ऐसे कामना करते हुए आज का ये लेक्चर खत्म हुआ है, ऐसा जाहिर करती हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच।
चलो, थैंक यू वेरी मच। सिर्फ मुझे एक ही छोटी सी बात कहनी है।
जी सर, बोलिए।
जो हमारे अमिताभ बच्चन जो है उनको ये दृष्टि थी फ्यूचर की। उनको पता था कि ऐसे कुछ एपिडेमिक आने वाला है या ये है, क्योंकि हमेशा ये कौन बनेगा करोड़पति के लास्ट में वो एक हमेशा ये वाक्य बोला करते थे कि प्लीज टेक केयर ऑफ योर सेल्फ। सो उस सेंटेंस का मतलब ये 2020 से था। ये अब मुझे समझ में आया, क्योंकि उस वक्त तो हमेशा मुझे प्रश्न आता था कि ये क्यों बोल रहे हैं लास्ट में। अभी प्लीज टेक केयर केबीसी के अंत में उतना तो केयर सब लोग लेते ही है, लेकिन अभी आज सच में परिस्थिति ये आ गई है कि खुद की केयर लेना ये भी एक बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी हो चुकी है आज के वक्त में। सो भगवान से विनंती है कि जल्द से जल्द कोरोना का संकट दूर करे पूरे विश्व से, और एक पहले की तरह है कि विश्व फिर से चालू हो। और ये कोरोना ने हमें जो बातें सिखाई है गए दिनों में कि हमने नेचर को किस तरह से नोचा है, तो वो भी हम बाद में ना भूले और हमारे प्रकृति का भी सम्मान रखना भी सीखे। बाय एंड लार्ज सभी तो नहीं है वैसे, लेकिन है बहुत से लोग, तो वो जो उन्होंने पढ़ाया हमें लेसन, तो वो भी हम सब ध्यान में रखें। सो एक बार फिर से सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और प्रशांत जी को फिर से एक बार ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Shall we conclude, ma'am?
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.